I want to put Eureka back on the Board of Supervisors. That's because myself, and I think a lot of people who live in the city of Eureka resent the 4th District seat being used to try and decide all of these land use and regional issues. You know, it's time for us to look inward and take care of our own. That said, I think B is probably the best compromise of all of those. We need to find a community compromise, get it adopted, and move forward.
Thank you. The question goes to Virginia Bass.
Thank you. Looking at the various options, I think they all have their positive aspects, and I think they all have their drawbacks. Personally, I'm not a fan of option A being the final chosen option. I think option C actually gives a larger range of housing opportunities for creation in this community, but it does have its drawbacks as well. If I were to choose between an option tonight, I would say that option B is a good compromise between the two. But when you look at the stack, and this only represents part of the general plan, and a good portion of this is the housing element and land use, there's an awful lot to be learned and a lot more educating to do. But if I were to have to make the choice tonight, I would go with option B, but recognizing that there are good points in each option.
Thank you. Is there a comment by Bonnie Neely?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just to say that one supervisor does not represent the city of Eureka. Actually, 3 of us do. 3 of us represent different portions of Eureka. Supervisor Lovelace comes in from the Old Arcata Road area. He represents the area by Safeway, there at Harrison and the housing behind there. Supervisor Jimmy Smith represents all of Henderson Center and other large portions of the Eureka district, and I represent the other portions. So there are 3 supervisors that are serving on the board representing Eureka's interests.
Thank you. And the next question goes to Virginia Bass. As county supervisor, what are your plans to encourage local business and employment growth?
Well, I think one, we have to be open-minded and look at all opportunities that come to this community for job development. We also need to do what we can to retain our local businesses and encourage them to expand. I want to go back to the first point of keeping an open mind. We all know that Humboldt County needs to be put back to work. And the best way to do that is bring people from opposite sides together, or people with differing views, and find out what types of industry we find acceptable here. We need to identify and pursue what we want in this community. Right now, there's not a real plan out there, so unfortunately, when ideas come forward, there's an awful lot of resistance without even getting all the information. And I think that's a disservice, and I don't think it's good government. So I think encouraging businesses to come forward and take an active interest in coming to Humboldt County is very important to adding jobs in our community. I hate that stop card.
Thank you. And the question goes to Bonnie Neely now.
Well, I think in terms of the county, we've been investing our Headwaters Fund monies to help create jobs. We set up 3 programs under Headwaters. One is a revolving loan fund. We have a total of $4.4 million that's been loaned out. That's assisted 37 different businesses here. 284 jobs have been retained and 144 new jobs have been created. We have the Community Investment Fund, and it was initially set up in 2003 with $5 million, and we are getting interest monies back from that, and that fund is holding its own, but we've awarded grants out for infrastructure, which is another important part of creating jobs. We've given the city of Eureka $500,000 to purchase and install equipment for the flake ice plant. We've helped leverage monies in for the renovation of the county's airport, $515,000. We brought in almost $9 million. Use that as leverage money. So that's how we're helping the economy here, as we're investing Headwaters funds and delivering good paying jobs.
Thanks. And the same question goes to Jeff Leonard.
Could you repeat that question?
As county supervisor, what are your plans to encourage local business and employment growth?
Well, I think one of the things we need to take a look at is where's the economy headed? And I'm a big believer in the new green economy that's coming down the pike. I think it's very important that we figure out a way to wean ourselves from our fossil fuel dependence of the past and start developing new renewable energy resources to I've served as the chair of the Redwood Coast Energy Authority for a number of years now, and we're developing jobs in the energy industry right now. We've got $4.5 million coming into this county to put together a new solar roofs program. We've got $800,000 coming into this county to help local governments with energy efficiency projects. We've got $1 million a year over the last 3 years that we've brought in for energy efficiency projects from PG&E, all to help create jobs to get local contractors doing energy efficiency, solar installs, and energy conservation projects in the county.
Okay, thank you. Is there a 30-second comment from Virginia Bass?
Yes, please. I'm sure you're all aware of the discussion about the balloon tract and cleaning it up. What I want to leave you with at this moment is getting that project going, doing the cleanup will put 65 union workers to work. And that's the kind of shifts that we need in our local economy to get this economic engine running again.
Okay, thanks. Moving on to the next question. Jeff Leonard, this question goes to you first. The debate over Richardson Road is heated and complex. Should Caltrans go ahead on plans to alter the road given that all other approvals pass?
I think Caltrans has done a fantastic job of putting together this project. It's a very difficult project to do in our community. They've spent a lot of time on it, and I think they've come up with the best possible solution for the Richardson Grove bypass. There were a number of alternatives on the board that weren't very good at all, and I think we've ended up on a place that may not be perfect, but it certainly suits most people in the community. And it's an important project to get done. You go right down the street here, you're going to run into the Lost Coast brewing plant. They have to bring bottles and boxes in. They have to ship bottles and boxes out of the county. Costs them more to bring them in, costs them more to ship them out. They're the 30th largest brewery in the United States, and they have to compete against people who have lower costs. So again, I think if we want to support local businesses that keep our economy thriving, we need to improve that transportation infrastructure. So I support the project, and I'd like to see it go forward.
Thank you. The same question to Virginia Bass.
Thank you. I've spent a majority of the last 2 years driving up and down that stretch of road a couple times a week. And I marvel as I go through the trees. And I also wonder, how the heck do people get product in and out of Humboldt County at a reasonable cost? I know small businesses that currently have to offload their product in Laytonville, load it on a different truck, and take it to where they're going, and vice versa when they're coming up here. Local small businesses, they get $1,000 or more added to every one of those trips. It makes their price of their goods go sky high. So I as well believe that the Richardson Grove bypass, as in its current form, is a good solution. I'm glad they've gone down to where they're only cutting 40 trees, and I believe the largest redwood is less than 20 inches in diameter. I could be wrong on that, but I believe the fact that there's 40 trees being cut at all, and none of them are large old growth redwood, makes me feel comfortable, and I'd like to see a good way to get the goods moving through this community to other people, part of the prosperity plan.
Thank you. And the same question goes to Bonnie Neely.
Yes, I actually did review all those options with Caltrans when they were looking at them. The initial options were extremely expensive and just unreal. They were talking about putting bridges up the river, taking out most of Richardson's Grove, and all those options were rejected. And then, excuse me, the director, Charlie Fielder, came up with the idea of realignment and started moving it forward. And I think they've tried to take into consideration every environmental impact and tried to address that. I had discussions with businesses in my district and countywide, and also with citizens, and overwhelmingly they support it if there is not a negative environmental impact to the old growth trees in the area. But as far as the arguments regarding this is the only way to stop big box, the real way to stop big box development, if you're not interested in it, is to have policies in your general plan. And the county did adopt a big box ordinance. We and the city of Arcata are the only ones that have, and if others are concerned about those big box policies or projects, they should put that in their general plan.